Welcome to this Level 2 ABANA National Curriculum presentation, an introduction to scrolls with Frank Annighofer.
Scrolls are inspired by nature. There's many examples of scrolls in nature, like these ferns that I found this spring right behind my house. And then there's all kinds of animal life that has scroll form, like mollusks, and you find scrolls everywhere in nature. Blacksmiths used different kinds of scrolls. They created different kinds of scrolls, but they all follow kind of the same rules, geometric rules. They start with a blob or something in the middle, or a leaf, and then they spiral outwards. And that's why they're also called spirals. Nature uses spirals that open up continuously. So the scroll gets wider and wider as it goes from the middle to the outside. And they come, or mathematicians call these logarithmic. That basically means they open up. I mean, if I want to go in detail, then it's getting very technical. There's more to it, but this is all we need to know. They open up. They're not constant distance between the different rings here. They get wider and wider. Often you read about the golden spiral or Fibonacci spiral. That is one of the various pitches that is possible, and it's related to the golden mean. This drawing is commonly seen too, how to create a golden spiral. It's based on the Fibonacci series of numbers. You start with 2 ones, and then you add those, you get to 2, and then you add the last 2 and 1, and you get to 3, and then you add the last 2 on, 2 and 3, you get to 5, and so on and so on. And that gets you to the golden mean. If you take the ratio of consecutive numbers, like of 1 and 2, it is 1/2. And if you go way up to 21 divided by 34, then you get to 0.62. And if you get 1,000 numbers further, you still get to 0.62. So it converges there. And that is what we call the golden mean, the relation between 0.62 and 0.38. That's used a lot in paintings. For instance, if you draw a horizon in a painting, you don't draw it in the middle, but you draw it 2/3 up. For us, it's probably good enough if we call it 1/3 to 2/3. The not so thing with the golden spiral is nature doesn't really use that golden spiral much. The golden spiral opens up faster than most natural forms. I didn't know that before. I to draw it and we laid it on our drawing that we have for the level 2 grill, and it opens up way faster than our drawing. And the spiral looks kind of hollow if you make a scroll out of it. So here I show you a different way to draw a spiral. And this would be a general spiral. You can draw any pitch you want with this method. You start with drawing 4 lines here on the first exhibit. They go through a center point, and they all have the same angle between them. Since this is 8 beams around, the angle is 45 degrees. Then you put a starting point on one of the lines. I chose to go 1/2 up on this line, 1/2 inch, but it doesn't really matter. You get the same thing no matter where you start. Then you go and cut a piece of cardboard. I started with cutting it at 80 degrees. So this cardboard was this big, and I marked 80 degrees and I cut it. And then I used that as a ruler. I drew a little line from my starting point at 80 degrees to the next beam that comes from the center. And then I go from here 80 degrees to here, and from here 80 degrees to here, and from here to here, and here back, and I go all the way around until I reach the edge of my piece of paper. So I get as a spiral. Oh no, then I go with a felt pen or some kind of pen and try to make a smooth spiral that goes through all the points where my drawing that I made before crosses the beams that come, or the rays that come from the center. So I get this spiral, and of course I didn't just hit 80 degrees by accident. I tried a couple different angles, and it happens that this 80-degree spiral matches pretty much exactly what we have on the level 2 grill. The inner part matches perfectly, and on the outside, our level 2 is a little tighter than the spiral. Then you can go and do different angles. I just made an example here with 85 degrees, so you get one that opens way faster. And if you would put the golden spiral on the same drawing here that we've seen before, it would be about in the middle in between here, a little more to the outside. But that's all very complicated. It's very easy for the mathematician and an engineer probably. Here's a practical approach that you can use too. You draw your scroll, and I'm not talking about the level 2 grill. I'm talking about if you design a grill. You draw your scroll freehand, and I'm pretty sure that our level 2 grill has been drawn freehand at some point by somebody. When you've drawn it, you see, put a couple lines on it, like I did here, and see what the ratio between these two numbers is. What I have on this scroll that I once did is about half to half. And I call this the positive space, and this the negative space. You hear a lot of people talking about it, but most don't explain what they mean with it. This is what I mean with it. And it's about 1/2 here and 1/2 here. And the good-looking scrolls are somewhere between 1/2 to 1/2, or the gold mean, which would be 1/3 to 2/3. After you corrected your spiral or your scroll that way, you look if there's any kinks in it and smoothen those out, and then you probably have something that looks pretty good. But here comes the interesting part. If you do the measurement in a different direction, for instance, my blue lines here, you still get 1/2 to 1/2. And you can do on my spiral here any direction, and you always get 1/2 to 1/2. And that's the nature of the logarithmic spiral. Let's go a little back in history. For centuries, scrolls have been made the same way, and even been made using the same tools. I got this picture out of a reprint of an old book that was first published in Paris, 1767. And you see the scroll here, looks pretty much like the one that I had on the last page. And you see scrolling forks like this guy here. It looks pretty much like the one that we teach. And you see a scroll jig here. It looks pretty much like what we teach. So I thought this was pretty amazing when I saw that in this book. And then the other side page, I found this grill here. That's a couple of 100 years old. And I'm not sure if they called that a level 2 grill, but it's awfully close to what we call a level 2 grill. And see this guy here, he's using a scroll jig to make this scroll, and he has the tools, the same that we use. And I think this thing is pretty nice here too. It doesn't have anything to do with scrolls, but it's a nice stand if you work on your anvil alone and can slide up and down here. Let's get to the scrolls that we want to make. We will start with the ribbon scroll, which is just tapered and stays the same width. And the fishtail scroll, that's tapered and gets wider at the end. Then we have 2 snub ends. The half penny is the easier one. And then the snub end scroll, or sometimes called solid snub end. And at the end, we go into the beveled scroll.
Thanks for watching. The rest of the scroll series will cover the forging of all 5 scrolls utilized in our national curriculum. Be sure to like and subscribe to be notified when future videos drop.